Nie Xiaoqian is a character from the collection of short stories Strange Stories from a Chinese studio written by Songling. She is a beautiful female ghost in one of the ghost stories. Ning Caichen, a native of Zhejiang, is known for his generous and straightforward nature, as well as his upright character. He often told people, "I will never look for a second woman in my life." One day, he traveled to Jinhua and arrived at a temple in the northern suburbs to rest and unpack his belongings. The temple's main hall and pagoda were magnificent, but the weeds had grown taller than people, suggesting that it had been a long time since anyone had visited. The doors of the monks' residences on both sides were slightly ajar, and there was only one small house to the south, with a new-looking lock on the door. Looking to the eastern corner of the hall, there were thick clusters of bamboo and a large pond with wild lotus flowers beneath the steps. Ning Caichen was captivated by the tranquility of the place. At that time, the imperial examination was taking place, and housing prices in the city were high. Ning Caichen wanted to stay there and waited for the monks to return. As the sun set, a scholar arrived and opened the door to the southern house. Ning Caichen went forward to greet him and expressed his intention to stay there. The scholar said, "These houses have no owner, and I am just temporarily staying here. If you're willing to stay in this desolate place, it's great. We can learn from each other." Ning Caichen was delighted and arranged straw bedding on the ground as a bed, and set up wooden boards as a table, intending to stay here long term. That night, the moon was bright and clear. Ning Caichen and the scholar chatted in the corridor, exchanging their names. The scholar said, "My surname is Yan, and my courtesy name is Chixia." Ning Caichen thought he was also a scholar here for the examination, but his voice didn't sound like that of someone from Zhejiang. He asked where the scholar was from, and the scholar replied, "I am from Shaanxi." His tone was sincere and straightforward. After a while, they ran out of topics to discuss and bid each other farewell, returning to their rooms to sleep. Because he was in a new place, Ning Caichen couldn't fall asleep for a long time. Suddenly, he heard low voices speaking in the north side of the house, as if a family was talking. Ning Caichen got up and quietly looked out from the stone window in the northern wall. He saw a small courtyard outside, a short wall, with a woman in her 40s and an elderly woman. The woman was dressed in dark red clothes and had silver hairpins in her hair. The elderly woman was hunched over and looked old, the two of them conversing in the moonlight. The woman said, "Why hasn't Xiaoqian come for so long?" The elderly woman replied, "She should be coming soon." The woman asked, "Is she resentful towards her grandmother?" The elderly woman said, "I haven't heard about that, but she seems a little uneasy." The woman said, "That girl isn't easy to get along with." Before the conversation was finished, a young woman of around 17 or 18 arrived, appearing very beautiful. The elderly woman chuckled and said, "She's talking behind people's backs." As the two of them were talking, the young enchantress suddenly appeared without a sound. Fortunately, she didn't reveal your shortcomings. She continued, "Young lady, you are as beautiful as a painting. If I were a man, you would have ensnared my heart and soul." The young woman said, "If grandmother didn't praise me, who else would?" The woman and the young woman seemed to continue their conversation. Ning Caichen thought they might be neighbors' relatives, so he lay down to sleep and stopped listening. After a while, the outside of the courtyard fell silent. Just as Ning Caichen was about to fall asleep, he felt someone entering the room. He quickly got up to check and found that it was the young woman from the northern courtyard. Ning Caichen asked her in surprise what she was doing. The woman said, "I can't sleep on this moonlit night. I want to share the pleasure of being a couple with you." Ning Caichen replied sternly, "You should be cautious of what others might say, and I am also afraid of idle gossip. Even a slight misstep could lead to a loss of morality and reputation." The woman said, "No one will know at night." Ning Caichen reproached her again. The woman hesitated, as if she had more to say. Ning Caichen raised his voice and shouted, "Leave quickly. Otherwise, I will call the scholar in the southern room." The woman was frightened and left. She went out, but then returned, placing a piece of gold on the bed. Ning Caichen picked it up and threw it outside on the steps, saying, "Ill-gotten gains, soiling my pockets." The woman left in shame, picked up the gold, and muttered to herself, "This man truly has a heart of stone." The next morning, a scholar from Lanxi came with his servant to prepare for the exam and stayed in the eastern wing of the temple. Suddenly, he died in his sleep that night. There was a small hole in the sole of his foot, and blood flowed out finely, like from a pricked wound. No one knew the reason behind it. The next night, the servant also died, with symptoms similar to those of the scholar. In the evening, Yan Sheng returned, and Ning Caichen asked him about the incident. Yan Sheng believed it was the work of ghosts. Ning Caichen, who was usually straightforward and unwavering, didn't take it to heart. In the middle of the night, the young woman returned and told Ning Caichen her story. She introduced herself as Xiaoqian, surnamed Nie, and revealed that she died at the age of 18 and was buried near the temple. She was forced to do degrading tasks by evil spirits and was coerced by them. Now that there were no more people to kill in the temple, she feared that demons would harm Ning Caichen. She advised him to stay with Yan Sheng to avoid danger. Ning Caichen asked why she didn't deceive Yan Sheng. Xiaoqian said, "He's an extraordinary person, and I dare not approach him." Ning Caichen inquired about her methods of deception. Xiaoqian explained that she would secretly prick the feet of those she was intimate with using a pin. Once they became unconscious and unaware, she would extract their blood to feed the demons. Alternatively, she would use fake gold to lure them, which was actually the bone of a Rakshasa demon. If someone left it behind, their heart and liver would be taken away. She explained that both methods appealed to people's desires. Ning Caichen thanked her and asked when she needed to be cautious. Xiaoqian replied that it would be the following evening. As she left, she shed tears and said, "I'm trapped in a sea of bitterness and can't find the shore. You, my righteous gentleman, will surely rescue the suffering. If you are willing to properly bury my remains and lay me to rest in a peaceful graveyard, your great kindness will be like giving me another chance at life." Ning Caichen firmly agreed, and asked where she should be buried. Xiaoqian said, "Just remember that the place with a crow's nest on a poplar tree is where I should be laid to rest." With that, she left the room and disappeared in an instant. The next day, fearing Yan Sheng might leave, Ning Sheng invited him early in the morning. After the hour of Chen, he prepared food and observed Yan Sheng's behavior, inviting him to sleep in a room. Yan Sheng declined, claiming he was solitary by nature and preferred quietness. Despite his protests, Ning Sheng moved his belongings over. Yan Sheng had no choice but to move his bed as well, and he advised Ning Sheng, "I know you're a man of integrity, and I admire you. I have some hidden matters that are hard to explain all at once. Please do not rummage through my bags and bundles. It won't be beneficial for either of us." Ning Sheng respectfully agreed. Afterward, they both lay down. Yan Sheng placed his luggage on the windowsill, rested his head on the pillow, and soon snored loudly. Unable to sleep, Ning Sheng noticed a faint figure outside the window around midnight. After a while, the shadow approached the window, peering inside with gleaming eyes. Feeling fearful, Ning Sheng was about to call out to Yan Sheng when something burst out of the bag, soaring like a dazzling white silk, breaking the stone lattice on the window, swiftly shooting out and immediately returning to the bag, extinguishing like lightning. Alert, Yan Sheng woke up, while Ning Sheng pretended to be asleep and observed. Yan Sheng checked the bag, took out an item, and examined it under the moonlight. Ning Sheng saw the gleaming, 2-inch-long object that was as wide as a garlic leaf. Yan Sheng finished examining it, securely rewrapped it in several layers, and placed it back in the bag. He muttered, "What an audacious demon, daring to damage my bag like that." Then he lay back down. Ning Sheng was greatly surprised and asked Yan Sheng about it, describing what he had witnessed. Yan Sheng said, "Since our bond is deep, there's no more need for secrecy. I am a swordsman. If not for the stone lattice on the window, that demon would have died instantly. Although it didn't die, it was injured." Ning Sheng inquired, "What did you hide in your bag?" Yan Sheng replied, "A sword. I smelled the scent of a demon on it." Curious, Ning Sheng wanted to see it, and Yan Sheng generously showed it to him. It was a small sword that shimmered and shone. This increased Ning Sheng's respect for Yan Sheng. At daybreak, they noticed bloodstains outside the window. Ning Sheng went northward from the temple and discovered a deserted grave with a white poplar tree, atop which a crow's nest was perched. Once the burial matter was arranged, Ning Sheng packed his belongings to return. Yan Sheng saw him off, their friendship deep and genuine. Yan Sheng also gave Ning Sheng a tattered leather bag, saying, "This is a sword pouch, treasure it well. It can ward off evil and spirits." Ning Sheng expressed his interest in learning swordsmanship from him. Yan Sheng replied, "You're a man of integrity like yourself, suitable for becoming a swordsman. However, you're accustomed to a life of prosperity, not that of this path." Ning Sheng made an excuse that his sister was buried here, dug up the remains of that woman, wrapped them in clothes and bedding, and rented a boat to take them home. Ning Sheng's study was located near the wilderness, where he constructed a grave. He buried Xiaoqian outside his study. During the memorial ceremony, he prayed, "You're a lonely spirit, buried beside my study. We can hear each other singing and crying, shielded from the intimidation of malevolent spirits. Please accept this cup of porridge. It may not be pure and sweet, but I hope you won't reject it." After the prayer, as he was about to leave, he heard someone calling, "Please wait. Let me accompany you." He turned around and saw it was Xiaoqian. Joyful, she thanked him, "You are so honorable and trustworthy. Even if I were to die 10 times over, I still couldn't repay you. Please allow me to go back with you, meet your parents, and even serve you as a concubine without regrets." Observing her closely, with her fair, rosy skin and delicate feet, she looked even more beautiful and enchanting during the daytime. Thus, Ning Sheng brought her into the study and instructed her to wait for a moment, while he went in to inform his mother. His mother was shocked to learn the news. His wife had been ill for a long time, so Ning Sheng's mother cautioned him not to let the news leak, fearing it might distress his wife. As they concluded their conversation, Xiaoqian gracefully entered, kneeling on the ground. Ning Sheng introduced her, "This is Xiaoqian." His mother stared at her, uncertain how to react. Xiaoqian addressed his mother, "Respected madam, I, a wandering spirit, have been taken care of by your son. I wish to repay his kindness by serving him, even if it means becoming a concubine." Seeing Xiaoqian's gentle and lovely appearance, his mother finally dared to converse with her, stating, "Young lady, you hold my son in high regard, and I'm quite fond of you. However, this is my only son, and I hope he'll carry on our family line. I'm hesitant to let him marry a ghostly bride." Xiaoqian assured her, "I am sincere and without ulterior motives. I come from the netherworld. Since I can't gain your trust, let me serve your son as a sister. I will stay by your side, serving you both morning and night." Touched by Xiaoqian's sincerity, his mother agreed. Xiaoqian wanted to meet Ning Sheng's sister-in-law, but his mother used the excuse of illness to deter her. Thus, Xiaoqian did not go. Instead, she immediately entered the kitchen, taking over the household chores seamlessly, moving in and out as if she had been there for a long time. By evening, she would say her goodbyes and leave, often visiting the study to read scriptures by candlelight. Observing Ning Sheng, growing drowsy, she would leave quietly. Previously, Ning Sheng's wife fell ill and couldn't do the household chores, leaving his mother exhausted. Since Xiaoqian arrived, the mother felt comfortable and grateful. With each passing day, their bond grew stronger, and Xiaoqian became like a daughter to her. She even forgot that Xiaoqian was a ghost and couldn't bear to send her away at night, allowing her to stay and sleep together. When Xiaoqian first arrived, she didn't eat or drink anything, but after 6 months, she gradually began to consume rice soup. Both Ning Sheng and his mother doted on her, avoiding any mention that she was a ghost, and others remained unaware. Not long after, Ning Sheng's wife passed away. The mother secretly considered having Xiaoqian as a daughter-in-law, but worried about its effect on her son. Xiaoqian seemed to grasp the mother's thoughts to some extent, and took the opportunity to say, "Having lived here for over a year, you should understand your son's character. I came here with my husband to avoid harming travelers. I have no other intentions, only because your son is honorable and respected by all. I wish to rely on him for help in the next few years and earn recognition, even in the afterlife." The mother recognized Xiaoqian's sincerity and discussed it with her son. Ning Shang was delighted and held a feast to inform relatives and friends. Some wanted to meet the new daughter-in-law, and Xiaoqian confidently greeted them in fine attire. People in the room were astonished, not suspecting her as a ghost, but rather thinking of her as a fairy. Within the 5 levels of mourning, Ning Sheng's close relatives brought gifts to congratulate Xiaoqian and eagerly interacted with her. Xiaoqian excelled in painting orchids and plum blossoms, and used her artwork to reciprocate. Those who received her paintings treasured them and felt honored. One day, Xiaoqian bowed her head by the window, looking melancholic and lost in thought. Suddenly she asked, "Where is the skin bag?" Ning Sheng replied, "Because you were afraid of it, I put it in another room." Xiaoqian said, "I've been exposed to the breath of the living for a long time now. I'm no longer afraid. It should be hung by the bedside." Ning Sheng asked what was wrong. And Xiaoqian explained, "For the past 3 days, I've been feeling anxious and fearful. I suspect it's a demon from Jinhua. It resents me hiding it so far away, and fears it will find its way here eventually." Ning Sheng then brought the skin bag, and Xiaoqian looked at it repeatedly, saying, "This was used by a sword immortal to store heads. It's in such a dilapidated state, who knows how many lives it has taken. Today, I saw it, and I even got goosebumps." After saying that, she hung the bag by the bedside. The next day, she moved it to hang by the door. At night, she sat by the candlelight, urging Ning Sheng not to sleep. Suddenly, something like a flying bird descended. Xiaoqian panicked and hid behind the curtain. Ning Sheng looked and saw a creature resembling a yaksha, with lightning-like eyes and a blood-red tongue. It extended 2 claws, scratching at the air. It reached the doorway and hesitated for a long time, gradually moving closer to the skin bag. With its claws, it plucked something from the bag, as if trying to tear it apart. Suddenly, there was a loud noise from inside the bag, which expanded to the size of 2 bamboo baskets. A ghostly figure emerged, half its body protruding, and it yanked the yaksha inside. Silence followed, and the skin bag promptly returned to its original size. Ning Sheng was both frightened and astonished. Xiaoqian emerged and joyfully said, "It's all over." They looked inside the bag together and found only a few buckets of clear water. Years later, Ning Sheng did indeed pass the imperial examination, and Xiaoqian gave birth to a boy. Ning Sheng also took another concubine, and they each had a son. All 3 children later became officials and gained great reputations. This story by Pu Songling intends to convey that good people deserve blessings. Ning Caichen was a true gentleman, while Nie Xiaoqian turned from her misguided path. Their empathy, gratitude, and virtuousness should lead to a happy ending. Righteousness is a talisman that safeguards your safety and success, while a woman's kindness and virtue can help you avoid evil and attain happiness.